Progetto Oz, an idea I came up with while just sitting in my bed at night and just thinking how bad Gran Turismo has been over the past few years in consistency. And then the other day I was playing Gran Turismo 3 and thought it'd be a cool idea if I could make my own racing game tailored towards what seems to be a dying Australian car world, and making a game based in Australia with Australian vehicles or vehicles that have been popular or situated into Australia via, say, stuff like the Australian touring cars or supercars, which they're the same thing, just different names for it. It's not really a touring car league anymore. But yeah, so I've come up with this grand scheme of things of my own Gran Turismo-like game, also known as Progetto Oz, which is Italian for project. So, I mean, every good racing game has its name in Italian. I'm pretty sure Assetto Corsa is. I don't remember if Gran Turismo is. I think Gran Turismo might be Japanese. I don't know. Yeah, we all know. And well, I spent a fair few hours researching cars and some tracks, and thinking about the overall idea of the game. Now, let's get into the overall idea. The overall idea of Progetto Oz is to provide a Australian car racing game, but it's also tailored towards the regular car enthusiasts in Australia. So we'll have normal road-going cars, but if that road-going car had a race variant in the supercars, or just in the supercars I guess, it will have its own variant of it in a supercar that you can also buy alongside. Meaning there'll be more than just it in there. It'll also have, saying the Ford Falcon, say BA Falcon, it'll also have the XR6 and the XR8 variant. Just like the BF would have a wagon or a ute variant, which I think it should. I'd have to check the car list, which is what we're going to get onto next. Is after this, we're going to talk about the cars. Any cars that are seen with a... what is it? A fucking tag next to it? Like a little star next to it is cars that most people outside of Australia wouldn't know. Well, I guess we might as well get into that now and do the other overall scheme of things after this, because I've already mentioned it. And I'm going to name every car that's in the list. So we got the Chevy Camaro ZL1, which will have a regular version and a Gen 3 supercar variant, since it is the Gen 3 supercar from GM since they shut down Holden. In the Ford, this is the Australian Ford section, since we also have the US, since the Mustang is also used in Gen 3. For the Ford Australian, we have the AU Falcon Series 1 with the XR6 and the XR8 variants, but we've also got the XR8 Ute and the XL Ute. We also have the Series 2 AU Falcon with the XR6 variant and the Futura Wagon. We also have the AU Falcon Series 3 with its XR8 Falcon Sedan variant, which, nice. We've also now got the Falcon FTE TS50, the XC Falcon, the XL Falcon, the XW Falcon with the XW GTHO variant, the XY Falcon GT, the XB Falcon GT, the XF Falcon, XH Falcon Ute, the BA Falcon, which includes an XR6, XR8, and both of them as a Ute variant. The BA Falcon includes the XR8 and the wagon variant. The FGX Falcon comes in an XR6 variant, and all of those Falcons that I've named above come as a supercar variant in Gen 2 and Gen 3. The Gen 3s will be below in the Ford variant for the fact of we use a Mustang now for the Gen 3s. So the Gen 2s would be like the BA and the BF. And the Ford ones, which are the only I've only put in popular ones. So the Gen 3 is a different type of newer Mustang, but it's not very popular Mustang here in Australia, so it's not on this list. So we have the 1967 Mustang, the 1973 Mustang, a Mustang GT from 2002, which is the Australian model of that Mustang, which was pretty sure it was manufactured between 2000 and 2004. So I just put 2002 because that's when they really started the spike up here in Australia. And then the 2015 Mustang which is what we used as in supercars for a little while back during the Gen 2 era when the Falcon stopped getting produced after Holden shut down. Now, the Mustangs will come with a GT4 and a GT3 variant, probably from around the late 2010s, just for the fact of the Bathurst 12 hour, which is where I think I might edit the list a little bit and add maybe some GT3 cars into here, just to spice it up for, Bathurst 12 hour. And now we move on to Holden. Now you may think why there's so many Commodores. It's because there's so many goddamn variants of the Commodore from over the years. I have skipped some that hadn't changed the look much or didn't sell very well. So we're going to start off with the VB Commodore, which will include its wagon variant, the VH Commodore, the VL Commodore, which includes the Berliner and the wagon variants, the VR Commodore, which also has its wagon variant included, the VT Commodore will have its SS variant, the VT, I just named that, the VY Commodore will have a wagon and an S variant. Now the S variant is before the SS came into effect, so it's literally just the S. You can search it up, VT Commodore S. I don't know why they did that. The VE Commodore, no variants because, well, it practically looks like the VY almost. The VF Commodore will include an SS variant of it, and the ZB Commodore will only be its supercars variant because I hate how that car looks as a road-going vehicle. Being the last Commodore Holden ever produced, it looks like shit. And all the Commodores named will also have a supercars variant if they were in supercars. Also, a part of the little asterisks next to vehicles that aren't very known, there will also be supercars from, show every supercar variant of every car I've named coming up on screen as well. So I will make sure to label them as what it was, like a Falcon or a Commodore, or if it was the R32 Australian Tour car variant from back in the early 2000s, 90s, since Nissan surprisingly did join us. It was the same with Volvo and Mercedes. They had joined supercars at one point. But back to this. We've also got the Holden Toronto, the HK Monaro, which comes with its GTS variant, the HG Monaro, which also comes with its GTS variant as well. A HJ Monaro comes with the GTS variant as well. HX Monaro, which will come with the GTS and its limited edition variants, which can only be found rarely in the used car due to the little quality of the HX that was sold. The limited edition will be extremely hard to come across in the used car dealership for how rare it is. It is such a sought after car. You own one of these in Australia, you're a fucking legend. We got the Monaro V2, which includes its VX CV8 and the VY CV8 variants. We got the VZ Monaro and the HSV Coupe, the GTO and GTS variants. HRT 427, which was like, I'm pretty sure a Monaro. It was like the Gran Turismo cars that they make. Like, oh yeah, this would be a cool idea. It was like one of those. But yeah, anyway, moving on. Now we got Nissan, and they're added due to a short stint in supercars, which was, way back in the day when they used the R32. So we're going to be adding the GTR R34, the R33, the R32, which will include its Australian Touring Car Championship variant in the used car dealership. The GTR R31, we're going to have a Silvia S13 and S14, and this is where we move into the Nissan part of three cars that are very well known here in Australia for four-wheel driving, which will be able to be turned into rally cars or off-road vehicles. Because I'm thinking we could add like a small little off-road course in the game, being that I also want to add free roam, which we'll talk about later in this video. So we have the Datsun Patrol, which was known as here before it changed to Nissan. So it's still known as the Datsun Patrol here in Australia, which was produced between 1980 and 1986. Then we also have the Y61 Patrol and the Y62 Patrol. Now moving on, we've got Volvo, which has one singular car that was used during supercars, since it was a supercar that Scott McLaughlin drove, which was the X60. Now it will include its normal configuration and its supercars variant that will be sold in the dealership. The supercars variant to be found in the used car dealership. We go on to Mercedes, which will have the E63 AMG, we're going to have the regular version, and we're going to have the supercars variant yet again in the used car dealership. Now, these ones will be easier to come across than, like, you know, the HRT 427 or the goddamn R32, because they're not that old. They were in the 2010s, so they were sort of recent. Now, the total amount of cars, without including all the variants as a different version of the car, is 67. If you want to include and count all the different variants there were, go ahead. I did put the car list on screen. Practically all the car list. This is a photo of the Google Docs. I'll be scrolling through it. I can't decide yet. So we have 3 non-Australian car companies. I'm not including Ford here, for we know them practically as an Australian car company, meaning the total Australian cars in this list is 44, as Hamilton mentioned. So that's the amount of cars. Now, if we go back onto the thought of this project, with all those cars labelled, as you can tell, majority of them are Australian known manufacturers, and a lot of them are road going cars, which is what I want to aim towards, the base audience. I want it to be fun. I want it to be able to, oh, I know that car, I own that car, let me do what I've wanted to do to this car, and let me put some buddy kits on it, maybe upgrade its engine, maybe why don't I go put a Barra in a Holden VY Commodore? Like, the sort of things people can want to do in real life, but wouldn't have the money to do otherwise. Now, that's where another issue also comes in, is licensing. Being that Holden is on this list, and Holden no longer exists. So unless you can convince goddamn GM to try and give you a Holden license, that's going to be so hard to try and get Holdens without getting sued, which is where a lot of it comes in. It's same with Nissan. Getting a Nissan license is apparently very hard, unless you're bloody Japanese. As I can tell, for almost every game that ain't a Japanese racing game does not have Nissan. Where is Nissan at? Guys, it can't be that hard to get a licensing off them. It's probably going to be same with Volvo and Mercedes. It's going to be a pain in the ass to get. But since we have Volvo, Mercedes and Nissan, I did add other than Australian tracks to the track list, which we will move on to in a second as I continue to explain the main goal and the main reach of why there are so many road cars. We added so many road cars, well, I did. When I say we, I mean, I don't know, if I can actually get some developers to join me, I do want to make this game an actual thing. I do want to make it real. I do want to do something with it. But the main goal is to practically appease to an open audience, to Australian car fans, but also internationally to people who want to learn about the Australian car scene, or at least what it was, before GM shut Holden down, the bastards. Anyway, now I want to move on to the track list, since I want to keep this video running quickly and under 30 minutes, because I have other things to do on this day, and I suck at editing, and I don't have motivation. Amazing. So now we're going to move on to the Progetto Oz track list. Now, starting off with Australia, of course, we've got Mount Panorama, which is Bathurst as we know it here, where Bathurst 12 Hour is held, the Bend Motorsport Park, Surfers Paradise, which is Gold Coast Street Course, Queensland Raceway, Phillip Island and Albert Park, Sandown Raceway, 3 in a row for Melbourne, Jesus, Adelaide Street Course, Winton Motor Raceway, which is a very little known track. Well, it's not very little known for the fact supercars used to go there, but people outside of Victoria, New South Wales or South Australia don't really know it. It is known as the nation's action track. I live quite close to Winton. I go there whenever there's events on because I love going there. I love the track. It's amazing. It's like my favourite racetrack in Australia. Other than that, we have Sydney Motorsport Park, Hidden Valley Raceway, Calder Park, Amaroo Park, Barbagallo Raceway, Baskerville Raceway, Catalina Park, Lakeside Park, Morgan Park, Newcastle Street Circuit, Oran Park, Simmons Plains Raceway, Townsville Street Circuit, and Wakefield Raceway. That rounds out the Australian tracks. Now we go on to New Zealand, since we are very closely affiliated to them. From New Zealand, we're going to be taking Hampton Downs, Pukekohe, and Taupo. Pukekohe was the old track that we used to go to for supercars before. I'm pretty sure it got shut down. When now we go to Taupo. Hampton Downs is another very well known and loved New Zealand track. Very curvy, very much a lot of elevation, and then it's a pain in the ass to drive. I've driven it on Assetto Corsa. Now we move on to Japan. I've added Japan because we have Nissan. And from them, we're going to be taking Suzuka, Scuba, and Fuji, because they're good tracks. And then we're also going to steal some tracks from Germany, being that we took Mercedes. I couldn't find any Swedish tracks that were pretty good from taking Volvo, so should be right. From Germany, we're going to take the Nürburgring Grand Prix layout. We're not adding the Nordschleife. Maybe in future we could add Nordschleife if we had money for licensing. Like a lot of money for licensing like that. Because it would be pretty cool to take a Commodore and try and beat the fastest lap set there in a utility, or ute as we know them, around the Nordschleife. I'll try and beat its record. And that ute is displayed at Winton. So, pretty cool. We're also going to take Hockenheim as the second track, being historic, and everyone loves that track. F1 needs to go back to it. I'd probably talk about that in a different video. Anyway, we go to USA for the fact that we have Ford. Even though Ford is... we find it really Australian here, but whatever. I just wanted to steal some tracks for them, because also, we've raced there before. Supercars has gone to US, we've gone to China, and we've gone to the UAE. Now we just stay in Australia. We have Australia and New Zealand. We don't travel overseas because those races didn't do well. We're going to take Circuit of the Americas, as where Supercars has been, but I also want to add Riverside and Laguna Seca, because they do fit the fact of they're good tracks to take road cars and maybe some tuned cars onto, sort of like supercars. For China, we have the Shanghai International Circuit, since it's the only operating track, since that street course that we raced on back in the day no longer exists. And for the UAE, we'll do Abu Dhabi, for the fact of supercars has actually fucking raced there. And in total, that means we've got 36 tracks. 36 tracks, and a couple of them outside of Australia and New Zealand, so not affiliated with supercars. I think the only tracks that aren't affiliated with supercars is the Japanese and Germany ones. 2 US ones, and the rest have been in some form of way affiliated with the supercars. Which is one of the main reasons I'm also basing this game in Australia, because there are no games I can find outside of Australia other than shitty Forza Motorsport that has our cars, has Holdens, has Fords like the Falcons, has a bunch of Australian racetracks. Because for some reason, people only either get Sydney Motorsport Park, Adelaide, or Bathurst. Like, they don't get the decently known ones unless you're iRacing. iRacing has like everything in the world, and we ignore them. They're a proper simulator. My goal here is to make it appeasing to everyone, which is also where I want to move on to talking about graphics and handling. For graphics, I want to take a note out of Gran Turismo 3's book. Gran Turismo 3 did their graphics so well. Like, so well. I loved how you had the sunlight beams coming through the forest roof, and it was like, everything was colourful and bright, vibrant before they went to Gran Turismo 4, where they tried to start making things realistic. It was like peak Gran Turismo graphics. I want to sort of replicate that with keeping it up-to-date graphics, sort of like realistic mixed with that. Like, not pixelated, if you get what I mean. But I also want their handling physics to be like a simcade sort of stuff. So it's fun to play on wheel, fun to play on controller, sort of like Gran Turismo's handling system. Just a bit better. Maybe still Gran Turismo 3's handling system, I don't know. Definitely not going to make it a Assetto Corsa handling system, because that shit's a pain in the ass on controller. And I'm not going to make it anywhere near like Forza's, because Forza's is yet again trash. Not very good. And so probably still like the handling from Gran Turismo 5 or Sport. That's pretty good, something based around that. But talking on the graphics standpoint as well, sort of like keep some of that nostalgia, like with the sun rays coming through the trees and all that. Maybe have some low foliage trees, like try and save frames where we can. So you wouldn't really be looking at the trees overhead since you're driving a car on a racetrack. You're going to be looking more ahead of you or towards the next corner. You're not going to be looking up at the trees like, oh my god. So that's where we can also save some frames. It's just like minimizing some of the things you wouldn't see in your view. And this is where I also want to now talk about free roam. I do want to add Australian free roam. I want to add some part, or at least a city, like just the city in general, or a good main part of that city. So every major city in Australia have some part out of it, or the entire city if buildable, sort of like Darwin would be. Darwin, Brisbane, but Brisbane would include the Gold Coast, so it would be Brisbane and Gold Coast. You know, another small place like Adelaide would be amazingly buildable, since practically we've got tracks from every major state, every major place, except for Perth. Perth is quite dead. They don't have a racetrack that I know of that we have raced at before. Except for the upcoming street course, I'm pretty sure Supercar CEO is trying to get built there, because they wanted to try and get Danny Rick over here, but that's not working out by seems of it. Still going to be cool to have a Perth street track. I could have added Speedway. We could add Speedway. But yeah, since we've got like Adelaide, we've got a racetrack from there, we've got 3 from Melbourne. Could be more. There's like a lot more tracks in Melbourne, surprisingly. We've got one from Brisbane, technically, because of Gold Coast. We've got one from Sydney, because Sydney Motorsport Park. Darwin, which is Hidden Valley Raceway. That's it. Oh, Canberra, we could add the Canberrian one, but like that street course sucked. No one likes it. Except for me on a set of courses that track's fun ass. But anyway, since I've like just spilt all my ideas everywhere, I've had no force of thought. I've just been yapping. I have no script here to go based off of. Sort of like that one guy. I'll slap his channel on screen right here. Shout out to him. I was watching his video when I had this idea. Absolute amazing idea he had. If someone could develop that, oh my god, that'd be amazing. But yeah, that's also where I want to go. If there's any developers watching this that would love to help, I do want to make this game a real thing. If we can get a team of developers and start making the tracks and games and the cars, and then go reach out for some licenses, this would be an amazing game. I'd love to make it. I'm pretty sure the Australian car community and racing community will love it. Maybe some people from New Zealand and outside might also like it, which is where I want to develop it on PC first, and then try and see if we can get it onto console as well, to compete against not even Gran Turismo, just smaller racing games. But anyway, thank you guys for listening to me yap for 23 minutes straight. I'm sorry if this was more of a yap session with ideas thrown everywhere. As I said, no script, nothing to go based off of. I'm so sorry. But anyway, thank you for having a look at this. Any developers, please either say something in the description or join the Discord and contact me, DM me, email me, whatever. Anything will do. I just want to know there's developers out there that would love to join me. And one of my mates, he said he could join us since he does development. But anyway, thank you guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe while you're down there commenting if you are. And I'll see you guys next time.